dental plaque, dermatitis, diabetic ulcers.
This is Just Keep Breathing with your host, Richard Curtin on National Radio.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Just Keep Breathing on RationalBroadcasting.com, Rational Radio. I'm your host, Richard Curtin. Today, my in-studio guest, newlyweds, Mark and Bo Jimenez. How are you, boys?
Doing great.
Great.
Good. So, Shall we go back? Let's go back. Let's go back and do a quick little recap of all of the turns of events that has happened. Because one, I want to tell you, congratulations. Two, I want to say thank you. And three, I want to tell you that if I were Barbara Walters, you would be on my show for the most important gay people of 2012. I think what you've done is admirable. I think what you're doing is important, and I personally want to thank you both.
Oh, thanks. Thank you, Richard.
Thank you.
So let's go back. You guys decided that you were going to get married, and you guys decided that you were going to go to the courthouse and how about apply for a marriage license?
Yes, that's what we decided. I proposed to Bo, and he accepted. So that very next Monday, President Obama had came out in favor of marriage equality. So we decided that if the president was for it, we would go downtown and apply for a marriage license. And then we chose July 5th. And we figured that was because the Declaration of Independence, was from the 4th of July and it promised us all life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. So we were going to pursue our happiness and see what they had to say about it.
And they didn't really have a lot to say.
No, they pretty specifically told us that marriage was in Texas intended for only one man and one woman, and that you had to be biologically one man and one woman. And so we handcuffed ourselves to each other and sat down in line and waited to be served and pretty much refused to leave until they would do so, which of course they never would do.
So, Major, you've been here before. Bo, you haven't been, and welcome to Just Keep Breathing. What was that like for you? Were you scared? Were you nervous? What did it feel like?
A little bit nervous. I didn't expect that they were going to do anything spectacular, like give us the license, but I also didn't expect the entire jail experience to be quite the way that it was.
How was it?
Well, it took, 14 people to arrest us, and there were 2 of us. And so
14 people?
Yeah. 14 people to come in, handcuff us, escort us out to the car.
Why 14? You don't look like you're a menace to society. Bo said, "Look at the guns, bitch." But why 14? Do you think that they thought that there was gonna? Because I know you had a lot of support that day as well. Did they anticipate some sort of riot, or did they anticipate more trouble? What? Why 14?
Well, I think that they thought, there were a number of people there supporting us. We also had friends within the police department and within the sheriff's department. We're also there to make sure that things were going to go smooth. They were on our side. I think since there were a large number of people there, they were probably just being overly cautious. It's not like they did in San Diego when they sent 50 guys in with SWAT gear. It wasn't quite like that, but it was a number of them. But they did arrest us that day and took us downtown, which is really across the street.
Yeah, I was gonna say it was a big walk. Did they drive you over?
No, they drove us.
Yeah,
that was nice.
because you had to go
hot.
in. So, Bo, you got separated. The two of you got separated from each other when you got arrested.
For a short period of time, they took us into small rooms that seemed to be maybe in a basement.
Yeah, it was the interrogation rooms. It wasn't really with the general population at that time.
Yeah, and he was in one room and I was in the other, and they left us alone for a little while. And I knew he was right next door to me because they took him in as we were walking down the hall. So I kind of tapped on the wall, and then I could hear him tapping back. So it was a little bit of comfort during that moment that, I knew he was there and he knew I was there.
You know, it was kind of nice. They left my door open. They closed his, but Sheriff Lupe Valdez came down to see who the troublemakers were, I guess, and she kind of like peeked in, and she just kind of rolled her eyes, and then she went on her way. But she did come down and check on us to make sure everything was cool, I think.
Did you feel like troublemakers when you say that? Do you say that in jest, or do you really feel like you were making trouble?
I say it in jest because, we had a very peaceful assembly. To my knowledge, none of the people there at the marriage license counter have been scarred for life because, we went to apply for a marriage license. Nobody was injured, nobody was hurt. We just asked for something that they gave to every other couple around us for the rest of the afternoon, just a simple piece of paper that gave us our marital status as legal, just like them. Because we were planning to get married in September. This was in July.
So then there was take two.
Take two.
Take two didn't really go as planned.
Take two did not. Take two was, we had our first court appearance about a month later. Coincidentally, it was the day that the declaration was ratified. That's August the 2nd. And so they were having solidarity sit-ins at marriage license counters all across the country in solidarity with our first court date. And then we were going to also have one.
Well, where that went wrong is we went up there like we did before, exactly as we did before, filled out the information on the computer that they asked for, and stepped up to the counter, and of course we were told no, and did the exact same maneuver as last time. Went to the front of the line, handcuffed ourselves to each other, and sat down. Only this time there was this security guard.
Well, there were several other people with us this time, including three other same-sex couple that were also applying for licenses.
Yeah,
so there was a number of people who then sat down.
Our numbers were much larger this time. But in no way were we doing anything really that much different in terms of we chose to sit down in the same spot. The line could still move around us as it did the last time. There was no reason for the reaction that we got from the security guard.
What was the reaction?
Extremely rude. He told us, you need to get up, you need to go sit in the lobby, you can't be here in line, they already told you no, and he threatened to arrest us. And at that time, we didn't really know whether or not he had the power to arrest us.
See, we thought he was a sheriff's officer along with the other sheriff that were there, and we didn't actually find out, or I didn't find out he was a security guard until I got out of jail the next morning. But he did threaten to arrest us, and so we couldn't be responsible for the other 20 plus people that were sitting in line. So we did get up and we moved out to not out to the lobby, but out to the general area outside of the line.
Because it was not your intention to get arrested this time, and
No.
it was your intention to have the second one really be a peaceful, we're going to call it unified solidarity, not only from Dallas, but a nationwide sit-in.
Right.
And so the security officer,
Told us to get off the bus. We've always likened this from the very beginning to the struggles that Rosa Parks had. And her thing was, they made her move back. This wasn't even moving back, this was moving off the bus. And that just infuriated me. It just infuriated me. Because we have a right to assemble. We may not have a right to get married, but that's what we're assembling to get that right. And so when he sent us basically out of the building to the lobby, I said no. I said no. Just like she said no, we said no. I went back and I stood there and I'm like, all right. And so at the end of the day, they arrested me again. As I waited for my marriage license again.
right. So, Rosa, um, this one didn't go as planned, and so do you have any regrets about the way that one fell through?
Not really, because although they tripled my bond and it was kind of a little bit harder to get out of jail this time, and it was a lot harder.
Yeah, that made me a little crazy that night because I had already put $500 in my pocket to get him out because that's what the bond was the last time, and he had some money with him, but not enough to give to me outside, even if they would have let him, which they weren't doing. And the banks were already closed by that hour, so there was no way for me to run down and get the money because at an ATM they only allow you to remove so much every day. So I knew there was no way I was going to be able to get it.
And so did your bond go from 500 to 1,500?
1,500, and
Because now you're really a troublemaker.
Right.
had it not been for C.D. Curvin, a friend of ours and a fellow activist, he wouldn't have gotten out that night. She helped me with the paperwork at the bail bonds place and actually signed her name to that to guarantee the bond, and we were able to get him out later that night. It still took longer than I would have liked, but yeah, that was a lot more difficult. I really didn't expect the kind of reaction to triple the bond for the same charge.
But in the law's defense, it is a repeat charge.
Right.
And so on repeat, don't they generally up the bond on a repeat charge? I don't know if that's true or not.
I think the judge just wanted to let me know that the court wasn't going to let me keep on doing this.
Right.
And so I clearly got the message.
And so then you joined me here at Rational Radio, and we talked about some of those experiences. Well, what was going through you? What were you going through on the second arrest? Apparently you were a little prepared for one of you to get arrested. Probably Major, not you, since you both had money. Did you see it coming with the security guard?
I did not see it at that moment, but as soon as he told us that we had to get out of line and we went and sat down just outside the line, I looked over at his face and
you knew it was exploding.
I saw his eyes and I said, yeah, this is not going to work out. And I knew that, for my job, I couldn't do a second arrest. So I explained that to him even as he was explaining to me that he's about to go get back in line and defy what they were saying. And so it was right after the point where he got arrested that I ran to the ATM on my way back through the jail. So I wasn't totally prepared, but I was at least prepared for $500. But it was really hard being separated from him and knowing that I didn't have the ability to stand up for us the same way that he was going to that time. So that was hard. And watching them take him away in handcuffs, it was difficult for me.
And this is really all about really just love.
Mm-hmm.
And you're being hauled away in handcuffs and being denied, and I'm there. And I don't understand why people don't understand why we're so goddamn mad about it.
I don't understand it either, because we have a lot of straight allies. We have thousands of straight allies across the country. And, they write us and they talk to us, and we have a lot here locally. And, they're the ones that, once they were enlightened about how civil unions are not the same thing as a marriage, and that there's 1,300 plus things that a marriage will guarantee that a civil union can't unless you spend thousands of dollars. Once they start understanding that sort of thing, or, when did we vote on your civil rights? When they start getting it, then they're on our side. The latest polls are saying 53% of Americans are in favor of marriage equality.
Well, look what happened in this last election.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to call it 4 gay marriage proposals, if you will, passed.
Mm-hmm.
They denied to ban it in Wisconsin, and thank you. And so we are now at 9 states that recognize same-sex unions. Excuse me, and Today, at 3:28 p.m., the Supreme Court agreed to take up the explosive issue of same-sex marriage, thrusting itself into a policy debate that has divided federal and state governments and courts as well as voters in nearly 40 states. The High Court's long-awaited decision to hear challenges to the Federal Defense of Marriage Act and California's Proposition 8 ban on same-sex marriage moved to issue to the top of the national agenda following a year in which advocates scored major legal and political victories. The court likely will hear these cases in March and rule by late June.
You know what? Excellent. This is exactly what we've been waiting for. We need the Supreme Court to just finally do what's right, be on the right side of history, and just come down with some sort of ruling that will affect all of us across the nation. That's what I'm holding out for.
And something that you spoke to is the 53% of Americans that are in favor of it. Now, what we have with this is so much different than what you see with so many other issues like the death penalty. There are those who are for it, there are those who are against it. But what you hear so often from the community at large is, I don't care, it doesn't affect me, it won't change my life. You hear that from the gay people, you hear that from the straight people. It's those people, because you're never going to change the mind of the religious right. You can try all you want to, but it's like talking to a wall. I've done it too many times. You have the people that
So
are
have I.
completely indifferent, and they say it won't affect us one way or the other. It does affect us. So if you don't care, then just get out there and vote. That's all you have to do. That's all we're asking.
Yeah, if you really don't care, then allow me to have my rights.
Yes.
Right.
My question on that is, how does my marrying a man or you two getting married affect their marriage or their right to procreate or their right to go assemble or their right to go to church or their right to go to the grocery store to buy chocolate milk?
Or their right to 50% divorce rates.
You know, in one of my interviews, I asked somebody if they wanted to get married, and it was a gay person, and they said, "No, I want to get divorced." But, you know, being able to get divorced means that you have the right to get married.
Right.
So, Bo, you talked about not wanting to lose your job. Can we talk about you losing your job?
Yeah, I can speak to that.
So, did you lose your job over this?
It was definitely, to me, a contributing factor. At work, I had some coworkers who had some difficulties with the fact that I had gotten married and it was to a man, but I got a lot of these finger quotes that were kind of sarcastic, like my marriage, finger quotes, and it made for a somewhat hostile environment, the entire thing. And
Did you get a lot of, "I don't care if you're gay, just don't rub it in my face"?
it felt that way.
That is one of the things that annoys me and makes me the most mad.
Yeah.
Okay, but I get to look at pictures of your children and your husband, and you get to rub it in my face that you're straight.
Yes.
But
Watch me enjoy my loved one as I hold hands and kiss in public, but don't you dare do
don't
that.
rub it in my face. So the hostile environment and the finger quoting, how did that lead to your? Were you terminated?
I voluntarily separated. There's a little bit of a story to that. There was some hostility the day that I left, and I chose to label it as voluntary separation, so that it would be easier for me in the future to get different employment by not being terminated from a job, but instead voluntarily separating. So that if they're asked by the HR department of a future employer whether or not I was terminated, they would have to say, no, he voluntarily separated.
Well, that makes me mad, and it should really make you mad. In the state of Texas, it is legal for an employer to fire their employee on simple grounds that they are gay.
Exactly.
There are 26 states in the United States that allow that behavior. And I feel like this is kind of falling underneath that. And where, do you feel as though you were sort of bullied out of your job?
I feel that I was bullied by my coworkers, but one thing I will say about that particular employer, whose name I have kind of agreed not to mention,
Sure.
but most people know where I worked and what I was doing.
Can I say? I won't. I
Okay.
won't do that.
They do offer same-sex partner benefits. It is protected in their bylaws, which makes sense for a medical facility because so many of us work in the healthcare industry. So it really comes down to individuals, and I wouldn't blame the business itself at all, but when you have certain individuals who are backing somebody into a corner where they just don't feel they have an exit, I can see how the bullied kids might feel. Certainly I wouldn't take my own life like so many of them have had to, or felt like they had to do, but it definitely changed my life in a very serious way.
Yes. Would you, or can you, do anything about it? Is this over?
Well, I filed for unemployment, and it was denied based on the fact that I voluntarily separated. Now, my recourse would be to file a complaint with the EEOC that I was harassed at work.
And you were working within a hostile environment.
Yes, and felt that I had to remove myself from that situation immediately. I could go with that, but I just feel like maybe I should just stick with the higher road. And we're not suffering so severely that not getting unemployment is the difference between homelessness and you know.
Sure.
So let them go their way. I'll go mine, and I'm gonna leave it alone for now.
You know, it gives him a chance to direct his energies, towards finding another job and some of the other work that he's been working on.
And so let's talk about what kind of work are you looking for? Maybe there's somebody listening.
Hopefully so. I am findable on Facebook, by the way. I'm looking for IT work. I do PC and computer repair. I'm Apple certified. I don't prefer Macs. I'm just throwing that out there. I'm not biased one way or the other. I like both. Great.
Do you really? Do you prefer one over the other for certain things?
For personal ownership, I would rather have a Mac, but I use a Windows 7 machine now. I'm great with the portable devices, iPad, iPhone, any Android device. So if anyone out there needs any computer repair, let me know. I can take care of that.
So let's go to the courts.
Course.
So you went to the courts.
And well,
I'm going to let you guys do most of the talking. I know the story, but I really want you to walk me through it and walk all of us through it, and because I think there's some important stuff that's going on.
well, we were postponed repeatedly, and both of us I have 2 cases, he has 1, and postpone, and then bam, all of a sudden, our attorney says they're calling Bo for his first court appearance. So, what happened?
Well, it was kind of unexpected. We got about, maybe close to 2 weeks' notice. And so we immediately started contacting all our friends on Facebook and saying, hey, this is going to happen on this date. Please come out and join the rally if you can. And so we got a few of our friends to come out and participate in that.
I was in New York when that happened.
Well, it was the first cold morning we had, but we had about, almost 20 people there or so. It was nice.
Yeah. Well, of course, we were all freezing. Wish Starbucks delivered, but... So, anyhow, we were all standing out there and doing that, and this was going to be the first time that the court was actually going to address the charges and make, I guess, make an offer was the purpose of this, of what they were willing to do. So we got inside the building and took our supporters with us, and it was third floor.
Third floor.
Yeah.
And Chad West, one of our attorneys, was actually doing the negotiating with the DA. So after a little while, he came out and his first offer.
The first offer was a fine of $620.
Well, court fee and court cost, which is the same thing as a fine, I guess.
It came up to close to $700, and money that I didn't really have, but even if I did have it, I was not willing to throw any more money at this than has already been thrown. So I said, no, if they want to do 40 hours community service plus the fine, then we're taking this to full jury trial, which I knew they probably would not want to do. So he went back in with that, and he came back out and said they're willing to dismiss the entire thing, nothing on your record, if you turn in 40 hours of community service by January 18th, which I was okay with that because I thought, well, okay, I participate in enough charities and enough events that really that's kind of something I would already be doing. And
the Resource Center Dallas always needs help.
yes, I've actually spoken with Raphael McDonald, so they're putting in a new phone system in January. It's a voice over IP system, so I'll be assisting them with installing that. Even if by then I already have my 40 hours done, I still want to help out with that, just because I like Raphael and I believe in everything the Resource Center is doing for the community. So that was the offer that I accepted, was the 40 hours and a full dismissal. Now, do I think that he will be that lucky when his come along? I'm not sure. Being that he has two back-to-back, it could be a little hairy.
And do you anticipate the surprise court date like Bo did?
Well, at the moment, I have two court cases, and they're both mysteriously, nobody can find them. There's no comment from the DA or from the bail bondsman or from our
What do you mean
attorneys.
nobody can find them?
They have disappeared. They're just not in the system.
They were moved from, I think it was court 3 or 4.
They moved me from court 4 to court 5.
And in moving him, somehow, this has caused some sort of further delay. And nobody can really tell us why. I mean, there's a lot of, speculation, but we don't really know why. And every time he calls in, he has to check in with his bail bondsman that I got for the second arrest every Monday. And they will say if something's been filed, and they always say nothing filed.
Before, there was always something filed. They would say your next court date is, and they'd give me a date, and Chad or one of the other attorneys would go down there, and they would say you're postponed until the next court date. But there's nothing right at the moment for either one of them.
Completely in limbo, which is difficult to deal with when you think about it.
But, we are being proactive
Mary.
on that. As a matter of fact, one of our good friends from one of the organizations we belong to, Dawn Knowlton with National Leather Association, has come up with a plan that she wants to have a high leather service dinner for us in anticipation of the legal costs associated with it. So we've nailed down a date. We had a meeting with her in a beautiful facility right at the end of our new bridge. And it's going to be a really nice dinner, limited to 100 people. So as we get more details, we're going to put it on our Facebook page and everything. But it was really nice of her and the woman that owns the building and the company to offer that for us, to kind of help out with our legal expenses. Because when we first got arrested, there were people donating to Get Equal Texas, which we appreciated, and that's helped with the travel fund for some of our attorneys getting to court cases here in Dallas. We've never actually, made any plea for money or anything like that. But this woman is doing this for us, and it's also her service to the community also. And so this will offset any fines that I may have. If by chance we get off, if I get released just like him, 100% of the money will go to the Dallas Area Rape Crisis Center. So it's a win-win situation for people to come out. It'll either help me out, because I'm looking at $4,000 in fines. if they charge me with both and they give me the full fines, 2,000 and 2,000, plus court costs, fees, and everything else.
Now you say on your Facebook page that you will not settle, and that you really want to take it all the way. What does that actually mean?
It's the same as Bo. I'm not going to settle for them giving me jail time or probation or something like that. We went there to get they can call it what they want, and they're calling it criminal trespass, but we all know what it is. It's a violation of our civil rights. They're just not going to give marriage license to same-sex couples. And so that's what it is. The charge is criminal trespass. So I will take it to court if they don't offer me a dismissal similar to what they gave to him. So, and then they'll have to decide, they'll have to find the people that will convict me of that. And if they do, I'm going to be very saddened with the state of the human race here in Texas. But I think that even with these latest polls, that people will be supportive. The day that we had our protest, they had people in North Carolina arrested for something similar earlier this year.
Yes.
The day before the protest, they had a jury trial. They found the 2 of them innocent, and then the day of our protest, they just dismissed the other 3. So, we also have an African-American lady judge, and she's got to understand where we're coming from. From the Rosa Parks day to where we are now, the advances that people of color have made, we're not there yet, but they've made a lot of advances. We want just the same thing as everybody else. We want to drink from that fountain. We want to get that piece of paper. Our request for a marriage license isn't going to destroy the religions of the world. It hasn't yet, and they've been legal all over the world except for here, and only in 41 states. Other states, according to one of our friends, the divorce rate is actually down in a couple of the states that have approved marriage equality. So it does have an effect on traditional marriage.
If you can say that the gay marriage is an effect, what is the goal for court for you personally? I know that will you accept community service?
With a dismissal, yes, because to me that's a victory for us. They're dismissing our case. But what we want is the chance to be able to walk into the 3rd floor, walk up to our friend Melinda, who works back there. She's not really our friend, but we've encountered her a number of times now.
Is she the one that said something about God bless you, or that she wished she could?
She wished she could, but her hands are tied, is what she tells us. She said, but if it was her choice, she would. And I want that lady to be able to give us a marriage license. We took, or I took a wedding invitation up there to the 3rd floor when we were going to get married in September. And I took it at lunchtime so it wouldn't be too busy. And normally there's a whole bunch of people back there, but there was only 2 women. And they were kind of talking, and they looked up and they saw me, and they had that oh my God look with the F one in there. And they looked at each other, they looked at the telephone, they looked at me, they looked around me to see if, we had a whole group of people. And I think, I don't know, one of them came up and she goes, can I help you? And I said, do you remember me? And she goes, yes. And she's still kind of looking to see if there's, who else.
If there's more drama to have.
Right. And I said, well, I have an invitation for Melinda, for our wedding. Is she here? No, she's at lunch. Would you mind giving it to her? Okay. And she looked around again, and then, she went, and I left. But I do want to go up there, the 2 of us together, sign that piece of paper that says spouse, have both of our names there. We don't have to cross anything out this time. Have Melinda talk to us, make sure it's us that's going to get married, look at our driver's license, and send us to that little place where they can hand us our piece of paper after we give them our check. That's all we want. It's not going to stop the state of Texas.
It's not what I want, it's what I demand.
Mm-hmm.
And again, I want to thank you for being able to do it and doing it. Have you made plans for alternative outcomes?
There is a possibility of jail time, 6 months for each case. And, I'm not a lawyer, and I'm not sure, but there seems to be this little thing that if you commit the same crime within a month, they call it something that they can actually add more time to it. So, that's that's in the back of my mind constantly. They could say, we're going to make an example out of you. We don't want y'all doing this. This is Texas. Everybody says Texas will be the last to fall for the marriage equality, and
No, it won't.
I disagree.
I disagree
But
as well.
the general consensus out there among our gay friends is that we'll be the last ones. But, they have to realize that they have to follow the laws of the country. And when the Supreme Court does finally come down on the right side of history, they'll have to comply. They won't like it, but, they didn't like it back in the 60s. They didn't like it probably when women got the right to vote. But you know what? They had to, get over it. They had to deal with it. Because in none of those cases, again, the world didn't stop. They'll get used to it. Because we're not going away.
We're not going to go away, and we're going to continue to go up to the courthouse and demand our paperwork.
Mm-hmm.
Have you gone to see Lincoln?
Not yet.
No.
I encourage you to do so. It's beautiful filmmaking. One of the really important things about Lincoln is at one point someone stands up and says, "Where is this going to end? Are they going to want to vote? Are women going to vote? Are women going to vote?" And when I was watching this is 1865. It was about a 6-month period that this movie is documents, like a 6-month period, maybe a little less. I kept on thinking, Stephen is so damn savvy on what's going on, because this is really about what's happening today. And why can't we learn from history?
Right.
That when you oppress people and you separate people and you divide people, you're really just going down the wrong path of history. And that as we evolve, we have to move forward in our thinking. And everything about denying gay rights and denying same-sex couples marriage rights is going down a backward, or going backwards in history. And so when are we going to learn, and how do we learn from history, and how do we apply historical events to what's happening today? Because we are going to get our rights. We've already got them in 9 states, and so it's just going to get, it's going to become the issue that gets really passed by the Supreme Court. What's next? It's just a question, that I've been asking people. Are we going to look down one day and our dogs are going to be talking to us, demanding equal rights? At some point, what is next?
We still have a lot of fights. Even after marriage equality, we have the issue of bullying to address. We have transgender rights to address. We have aging. All of us are getting older. We lost a couple of generations there, but now we're getting older. We have women's issues. We have people of color that are within the LGBTQ community that feel excluded. We have a lot of cleaning up in our own backyards to do while we're still fighting those other fights. But marriage equality is one that the whole country is on board with this. We have friends all over the country on Facebook, all different organizations. Freedom to Marry, Marriage Equality,
Get Equal Texas.
Get Equal Texas. We talk with all of them, and we're going to win this. I know the people in California aren't so happy that the Supreme Court is going to hear this, but friends, it may impact all of us, and that would be important.
Well, let's talk about your marriage. You got married in September.
September 13th.
September 13th, and it was quite a little ceremony, I heard.
We did have a good time. Both of our moms were there. We had a lovely flower girl who now moved to the West Coast. Hey, Ty. I know she'll be watching this. But prettiest flower girl ever. We had a great ceremony. We had a great man giving us, directing our vows.
Yes, probably my favorite part of the entire thing was my mother got to witness me receiving my collar, which was a shock to her, but also not so much. She asked me what that symbolized, and I said it symbolizes our love, just as a ring would. She completely accepted it. I've never really had that much acceptance from my mother, and afterwards she talked about how people were so nice to her, and how everyone she talked to, nobody felt like a stranger, which speaks to our community and about our friends, because there were a lot of people afterwards at the gathering that we had at the Eagle that we didn't know personally, but who treated everyone there that was with our wedding party as family. It was beautiful, really.
You know, just about everything that you guys have done this year, every little event, I have been out of town.
Ah,
I was in Germany for your wedding. I was in Vegas for something else, and then I was in New York for one of your fundraiser early morning things.
Well, mark your calendar for February 23rd.
And that's where I was going.
Okay.
February 23rd is your leather dinner.
I'm not sure.
How are you?
I'm
What
not
do you?
sure how Dawn wants to phrase this, but it's going to be. She rocks, by the way. She rocks. Her and her husband rock, and they have a nice leather family, and we know her through NLA.
She rocks.
Yeah, she rocks. She rocks. She put on a nice dinner last year or earlier this year, and this will be her way to give back to the community. So they'll have all the servers will be submissives within the leather community, and it's going to be all timed perfectly. It's going to be a nice several course dinner, a little bit of entertainment, and it's in a beautiful facility. Once we get all the names and all that, because we just kind of are, the ink's drying right now on the whole thing.
Today was our first meeting with her to set up all the planning, so.
But it's going to be in a great location, and a lot of fun people and good food and fun.
How much are
service.
tickets? And do you have to be a member of the leather community to be a part of?
Absolutely not.
Okay.
No, you don't have to get your leather out or your naga hide or your rubber or anything else. This is just going to be.
And if you're a submissive and you want to be a part of it,
She does need some submissives who are going to want to be trained in this particular style of service. She's anticipating the need for 20 subs, and we should be able to round up a few of them, we hope. But the tickets, it's going to be a nice dinner in a nice place, and we do have hefty fines. It will be $40 a person, and we're going to have beer and wine, and the dinner, some entertainment. So.
well, fantastic. How do we watch it and keep abreast of it? By Free Mark and Bo? Is it Free Major and Bo
Well, we have
at
Free
Facebook?
Major and Bo is one of our Facebook pages. We're both easily accessible on Facebook. Bo Jimenez, Mark Jimenez, or Jimenez, if you like to say it that way.
But you prefer Jimenez, right? We talked about that last time.
We're from the 1870s. And, back then there was no bilingual education. My grandparents, where I get my spelling from, changed the name spelling in 1900. My grandparents, their children didn't speak Spanish. And even though we're all around Texas and all over the South, there was no Spanish. So I had to learn my Spanish going through high school and college. So either way.
And you are not Spanish.
No, actually I am. My original last name is, the way that it's properly pronounced is Aragon, which is actually an area of Spain, as in Catherine of Aragon, which is how I grew up saying it, because in the same situation, there was no bilingual in rural Kansas where I grew up, so it was just Aragon, and like Paragon Cable, that sort
Right.
of thing.
Yes, but both of us have Mexican dads.
Yay, I love Mexican dads. Okay, so February 23rd.
Right.
And are you going to limit it to 100 people?
Yes, Dawn did want to limit it to 100 people so that it could be the service the way she wants it to be. That timed, absolutely incredible service that should be fun to watch and fun to experience and enjoy.
And the facility, is beyond amazing. Seeing it today, beautiful, the polished cement floors.
Well, it's Singleton, where they're revitalizing all of Singleton
Yeah.
at the end of the new.
What's the name of the building?
That's something we need to get working.
You were
on.
hoping I didn't ask.
Right. I had it written down, and I want to actually give credit to the owner of the facility too. But we want to get all that, down in writing.
Sure.
But we'll get it to you. So. And,
Well, then we'll have you back before February 23rd.
Sweet.
And if, if we're having trouble getting tickets sold, we'll get them sold.
All right.
Great.
But I guarantee 100 will go quick.
Well, it would be nice to see that happen and join in for the community. Of course, we're going for no fines, no fees, all that kind of stuff, and then the money still goes back to a good cause, the Dallas Area Rape Crisis Center. So,
So what's next? We're gonna do the dinner. What happens if the court case comes up in January?
if the court case comes up in January, well, they were able to stall me a couple of times. Maybe I'll stall them back. Actually, we have a couple of months, or he had a couple of months to actually reply to their offers. We didn't have to do it all that day.
Oh, okay.
And and they've been making me sweat since July, so I can make them sweat at least until February 25th.
Right. Is the
and find out-
23rd a Saturday?
Yeah, it will be. So it'd be the 26th, I guess. It'll be a Saturday. So yeah, and it's my understanding that I'm supposed to have be prepared to pay those fines and everything the day they issue their decree or whatever. So I guess if I was I guess that would be a court trial then, because I'm not going to take any fines.
Have you been instructed to stay away from City Hall?
Well, City Hall is one place, and the marriage license counter is another.
Another,
place.
yes.
But they've not told me not to go there, and so, but we made our point when we went, and I expect that other people may want to plan similar actions, and we're with them 100%. Any place, one of our followers online, him and his partner have been together 19 years. On their 19th anniversary, they went there in Florida and applied for their marriage license. Of course, in Florida, they were denied. But you know what? It was them taking ownership, saying, I want this, and I'm going to go show them that I want this. So, and we've been getting messages from all over the country, people doing that and standing up, and standing up for what's rightfully theirs. It's a marriage license. It's not your church weddings. We still get those. We have plenty of places where we can have our church weddings and get married by traditional ministers.
And that's something that they continue to argue with, is that we're trying to redefine marriage. Well, legally, yes, I guess you could say that. It should be one person with one person. But as far as their religious ceremonies, we're not asking to alter that. Whatever they want to do in their church, if their church decides that they don't want to marry two men, they don't have to. They have freedom of religion. Nobody's forcing anything on them.
Yeah, we're not telling Chick-fil-A to start selling hamburgers.
Right.
Right.
And
Screw Chick-fil-A.
I get really annoyed by that comment, because we're not trying to redefine marriage. In fact, marriage has been redefined
Over and
over and over and over and over again. And so everything evolves. At some point we were chimpanzees, whether you want to believe it or not. I believe that we evolved and our brains have opened up, and eventually, what is the world going to be like when we start using more of it? And that's kind of my part of my question earlier is, what's next? Are we going to open another part of our brain because we are more open-minded? And if we do, will our brain will it allow us to fly? What is next? There's something big going to happen. And so we're not asking, but we are demanding that the marriage be redefined. Absolutely, it has to. And over the centuries, it has changed. And when people say to me, it's always been about one man and one woman. No, it hasn't. It's been about one man and 400 women.
Right.
It's been polygamous, and in the 13th century, I think that's correct. We found that in the Catholic Church, they married a saint and a man. Two men were married in the Catholic Church in the 13th century.
That is not the first time I've heard that.
And so, at some point, yes, it is a redefining and it is a re-evolving issue that is called marriage.
Well, it's just like Loving versus Virginia redefined, marriages between people of different color, and it'll change, it's just, and it takes, they told us that we're the first ones that ever tried to do that here in Dallas.
Really?
Yeah. And,
Wow.
but we also had friends, that we got a new dog. Did you see it on
Yes, I
Facebook?
did. He's adorable. It's a little like Chihuahua and hot dog, isn't it?
Chewini. Yep.
A Chiweenie.
Chewini.
That's right.
Yeah, the lady we got the
Oh, he's
dog
so
from,
cute.
they're fellow activists down there in San
Antonio?
Yeah, in Austin area. And there were 3 brave women that, decided to sit down in San Antonio on Valentine's Day. So, a lot of people have inspired us, and we hope that some of our actions will in turn inspire others to do some sort of work, for marriage equality or just for general equality across the board, federal equality, or making sure they're nice to somebody.
Do you know the day that there was that marriage rally at the Oak Lawn Monument?
Mm-hmm.
As I was walking home or walking back to my car, which was parked at the bar, a woman yelled at me and said, "What's next? Marriage between a man and 3 women?" And I said, "Why not?"
Right?
And it infuriated her. And she goes, "Well, what about a man and a dog?" And I said, "Don't be stupid. No one would marry you." But why not a man and 3 women? And what really is wrong with polygamy? Who cares?
I don't think there's anything wrong with it. I think that what they need to actually examine when they're throwing out ridiculous statements like, well, a man could marry his toaster or his dog. No.
Oh, come on.
A dog is not capable of signing a legal contract and is not self-aware.
Neither is a toaster.
Cannot communicate. Yeah, I mean, if a man
Stop
wants
being
to marry
ridiculous.
4 women, we've been there. We've done that already. They changed the law to prevent it. So it's not like it's never been done or it's unheard of.
And they act like, it's the gays that are in all these kind of bizarre relationships. But there's a lot of different family relationships, family dynamics within the gay community, the lesbian community, the bisexual community, the transgender community, the queer community. There's a lot of people that they would be surprised if they knew exactly what their family dynamics were at home. But they keep their lives private. They live their lives, and they email us and they thank us for getting out there and being the face and the voice, along with many other people that are doing it. People such as you, having us on your show and getting the word out there. But a lot of people can't do it. So that's we're always happy when they tell us that they like what we're doing.
And you know what? Everybody can somehow get involved. They can watch you on Facebook and they can support you on Facebook. They can share your story on Facebook. I know people that run the gamut and they say, "Oh, I can't do what you do." Okay, good, because I'm already doing it.
Mm-hmm.
So why don't you do something else like share the story? It's that simple. No one has to see you. No one has to watch you. No, you don't have to get involved. But what you can do is support the story on Facebook and get it to all of your friends. And so everybody really does have a meaning, and everybody really does have an importance, because sharing the story on Facebook is important.
Yes, it is.
Even if it's just as simple fact of seeing the 2 of you partnered and getting a new dog,
Right.
because assimilation is really that simple. Assimilation is happening.
Well, we love to see all the stories online. I've been with my partner 34 years, 56 years, 4 years. But everybody has to start someplace.
Yeah.
And we were lucky enough at this point in our lives to find each other, and decide that we want to have a go at it, just like everybody else, together. And so everybody started with a day, a week, a month, a year, and that's how you got to where you are now. that Kammermeyer, they just got married today. I saw on Facebook. It's incredible when she's sharing her story, General Kammermeyer, and people see that, and they know all over the world that, okay, nope, the world didn't stop again. Doggone it.
It didn't cause Sandy.
Right.
It's not going to cause a tornado in Kansas.
Right.
Those things are just going to happen.
Maybe we caused this beautiful weather in Dallas, Texas. Who
You know,
knows?
it is possible. I think what is important is that we continue to demand our equality. And again, I thank you for your hard work, and I thank you for putting your jobs and your personal life on such display, because it is important, and it's very important to me. I tell people all the time that some of the things that I do is to make sure that you can. And, I didn't get the opportunity to marry Jack. Jack and I talked about if New York allowed it, because we have connections there, that we were going to go get married in New York, and he died shortly beforehand. And so when I see young boys or young men or couples that really loved each other and want to get married, it really warms my heart that you guys are out there demanding it, and that I'm out there demanding it, because we're going to get there. We're going to get there. Do you feel a little less angry about it all?
I've been saying for a while that I feel it coming, and people disagree with me all the time, but I'm optimistic. I'm very hopeful. And and we got an award last night at Youth First Texas. It was very nice. It was unexpected, but they had, I call them the kids. They had the kids in the back. They had been just kind of hanging out there. But from what I understand from one of the volunteers, whenever our story hit the news or something like that, they would talk about it in their discussion groups. And I told them, because the whole thing was kind of it gets better thing. And I said, we're doing what we can to make sure that it does get better for y'all. And
we're doing it now.
And it will make a difference for them. And they know. They send us letters. It's nice.
Good. Well, congratulations on your marriage. Congratulations on your hard work.
Thank you.
Good luck in finding a job. Thank you for joining me on Just Keep Breathing. You've been listening to Rational Radio. I'm here every Tuesday, every Friday from 3 to 4. Major and Bo Jimenez, one more time. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for having us.
Thanks.
Have a great afternoon.
Thank you.
Fox was around in those days.